لله رب العالمين صلى الله وسلم وبارك على محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. طيب يا إخوان, a little bit closer. I know you guys want the wall, but because the number is so small, let's try to get a little bit closer.
No.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Alhamdulillah, I appreciate you coming. I appreciate you guys. All right, so the topic of talk today is protecting your fast, achieving the objectives, avoiding the prohibited. And because of the amount of time that was allotted for the talk, I thought that the approach should be academic. So we're going to be more, it's going to be more on the educational side than the enlightenment side. And I want to begin by pondering the title itself. And we'll ponder together. We'll try to make this interactive, inshallah. And by pondering the title, we should be able to figure out how we should approach the topic and what we should cover, what we should talk about. So the first thing is protecting your fast. Wa alaikum salam. So when you hear that, protecting your fast, what does that imply to you? What's the implication of somebody saying, protect your wallet?
Make sure you do everything to keep it safe.
Mumtaz. And if you got to keep it safe, it must be what? It must be protected, but
Valuable.
I said it must be valuable, it must be precious, right? So when we talk about protecting something, we're protecting something that's vulnerable, and something that's precious, something that's valuable, it's important, so it's worthy of what? What we call a siyana wal hifz. A siyana wal hifz means protection, safeguarding, looking after attentively, right? And that's a pretty accurate description of fasting. That's a pretty accurate description or indication about fasting. Fasting is precious. It's precious, why? Because of all of the fada'il, all of the virtues and merits that are associated with fasting. So I want you guys to help me think about some of the fada'il, some of the virtues, some of the merits which are associated with fasting. What can you think of that makes it valuable, makes it precious? What comes to mind? Huh? Restraint. So fasting, what's another way to say restraint? It's a shield. Mumtaz. A shield from what? Shield from haram, that's true. It's also a shield from a place where none of us want to go. From a place where none of us, right? None of us want to go, right? So fasting is a shield from the hellfire. That makes it pretty precious, right? Pretty valuable. As the Prophet said in the hadith of Abu Hurairah, he said, As-sawmu junnatun min an-nar. He said fasting is a shield from the hellfire. It'll protect you from the hellfire. That right there is enough, right? But it's more. We're not done. Another virtue of fasting, or another thing that shows how makes it precious, is it's a pathway to paradise. It's a pathway to paradise. It's a means toward that great end that we all see. What's the proof that fasting is a pathway to paradise?
The gate of fasting.
The gate, mashallah. The Prophet said in the hadith, by Bukhari and Muslim, on the authority of Sa'd ibn Sa'd al-Sa'idi, he said, إِنَّ فِي الْجَنَّةِ بَابًا يُقَالُ لَهُ الرَّيَّانِ يَدْخُلُ مِنْهُ الصَّائِمُونَ وَلَا يَدْخُلُ مِنْهُ أَحَدٌ غَيْرُهُ. He said, in paradise there is a gate called Ar-Rayyan, from which the people who fast will enter, and no one will enter that gate except them. Means what? The people who fast, they're going to go where? Paradise, man. SubhanAllah. So that's another thing that makes fasting Precious, but we're not done. Fasting is also precious because it's a means to obtain Allah's forgiveness. We have the famous hadith called Muslim, authority of Abu Hurairah, in which the Prophet said, "Man sama Ramadan imanan wa ihtisaban ghufira lahu ma taqaddama min dhanbihi." He said, the one who fasts Ramadan out of faith and seeking Allah's reward, all of his previous sins will be what? Forgiven. All right? Another virtue or merit of fasting, which makes it precious, is that it is a source of, we could say, abundant, or we could even say unlimited, or we could even say unmatched rewards. That the reward you get for fasting, it supersedes the reward you get for any other deed. What's the proof of that? What's the proof of that? Come on, you all heard it before. You just gotta think for a minute. What's the proof that fasting is a deed for which you'll be rewarded more than any other deed?
Reward is like 70 to 700 times.
Subhanallah. Subhanallah. There's a hadith where the Prophet said, he said, "Kullu amal ibn Adam al-hasana bi-ashri amthaliha ila 700 bi'af." He said, every act that the son of Adam does, every religious deed, every good deed he does, he's going to get every act he does, the reward for it. One good deed is worth one reward, right? But it's always going to be multiplied 10 times. But Allah won't stop there. He'll continue to multiply based upon our sincerity, based upon other factors. He'll continue to multiply up to what? A cap of 700 times, right? The value of the deed, subhanAllah. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, "Illa as-sawm. فَإِنَّهُ لِي وَأَنَا أَجْزِي بِهِ." He said, except fasting. He said, fasting is for me. So I'm going to give what? A special reward for it. Which means what? More than 700 times. Also, Shuruf, he didn't say how much. Which means what? It's a number that only he knows. But we know it's more than what? More than 700. You guys see that? Tayyib, also, fasting, another thing that makes fasting precious is that fasting will come on the day of judgment. And it'll be like a lawyer. And you know you done some dirt. Right? And you know you're supposed to do some time, right? But if you got a good lawyer, what's going to happen? You're going to get off. Right? So the Prophet ﷺ, he said that fasting is going to come on the day of judgment like a lawyer and intercede on your behalf. Fasting is going to say, "Ay Rabb, mana'tuhu at-ta'am wa-shahawat bin-nahar, fa-shaffi'ni fi." It's going to say, "Oh Allah, I prevented him from his food and from his desires during the daytime, so accept my intercession." And Allah's going to do what? You're going to get what? You're going to get off. Y'all see that? All of that makes what? Makes fasting what? Precious, and something that we should do what? We should protect it. Y'all see that? We should protect it. And we should give it special attention. It's a special act of worship which we should give special attention, special inayah, and special what? Protection, to safeguard, to protect, to look after. And where the Prophet ﷺ, he said, "Rubba sa'im, laysa lahu min siyamihi illa al-ju' wal-'atash." He said, perhaps a fasting person will gain nothing from his fast except hunger and thirst. What that's telling you is that it's like a notice or a warning from the Prophet. Look, there's some people that they don't get nothing from this, so, oh Muslim, don't be what? Don't be one of them. Don't be one of them by what? By protecting your fast from what? From being nullified, from being null and void, invalidated, and so you what? You don't get anything. The people who don't get anything are the people who didn't do what? They didn't protect it. Y'all see that? So that shows you that fasting is something we're supposed to protect. We're supposed to protect it and look after it. But then the title that goes on that says, achieving the objectives, avoiding the prohibited. So the title says, protecting your fast, achieving the objectives, avoiding the prohibited. So it's as if the second part of the title, it clarifies how the first part is achieved. It's as if when you hear protect your fast, you immediately a question pops in your head. Well, how do I do that? How do I make sure that the fast bears the fruits that it's supposed to bear? And I get the most out of it, I get the full benefit. And so now the second part of the title comes and it answers the question. It gives you a twofold answer. It tells you two things you need to do to protect your fast. The first thing, achieve the objectives of fasting. Do what you're supposed to do, achieve what you're supposed to achieve by fasting in the first place. That's how you protect your fast and make sure you get the reward for it. The second part, avoid what? Avoid the prohibited, which means avoid any and all things which can invalidate the fast or do what? Or diminish the reward you get for fasting. Y'all see that? So this achieving the objectives, that first part, if you hear that, that tells you something. That sends you a message. Achieving the objective says what? That fasting has what? Objectives. Has objectives. It has boxes that you're supposed as a Muslim be to what? To check. At the end of Ramadan, I should be to say check, 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 check. There's certain objectives, certain things I'm supposed to be trying to achieve from my fasting, right? The second thing, when it says avoiding the prohibited, that sends me a message too. What message does avoiding the prohibited send? It tells me that there's some things that a fasting person is not supposed to what? Not supposed to do. And that these matters, they basically represent a what? An obstacle to the achievement of what? My objective. Sometimes these prohibitions can do what? They can slow me down. They can slow down what? My progress. I'm moving, and then I get one of these obstacles, I get one of these prohibitions, and it does what? It slows my motion. I'm still moving. And sometimes it can impede your progress altogether. Just to what? Stop you in your tracks. And if it stops you in your tracks, you want to achieve your objectives. If you don't achieve your objectives, what's going to happen to what? To your fast. You'll be from those people that the Prophet said, some people who fast, they get nothing from the fast except hunger and thirst for the other. See that? So what we're going to do today, based upon what we just talked about with the title, we're going to talk about 4 things. The first thing, we're going to talk about your fast. What does that mean? What is the fast that we're supposed to protect? I wonder if that other one's isn't creating some interference with this other mic. Which one? You think this one might be creating interference? Is it on? Turn that joint off and see. Are there sisters in the back?
They behind the back.
Okay.
About now.
Yeah, I think it's good now. I think
I'll just unplug it. Okay.
I think it was causing interference. I think so. Are there sisters in the back? I'm talking to the sisters. Are there sisters in the back?
They have a lecture.
Are you guys having a separate lecture in the back? It sounds like it. So we're going to look at 4 things. We're going to cover the topic by looking at 4 things. The first one is your fast. What is this fast that we're supposed to be protecting? What is it? We're going to talk about that. The second thing is the objectives of fasting. We said that fasting has objectives. What are those objectives? The third thing, acts prohibited to the fasting person. We said that there are certain prohibitions. We need to know what they are. And we know what their categories are, what the levels are. Some of them, they do what? They nullify your fast. And some of them, they do what? They diminish the reward. We need to know the difference. And last but not least, we're going to talk about discouraged acts, acts that we need to what? We should avoid, even though they won't break the fast, we should what? We should avoid it. So let's look at the first thing we said we're going to talk about, which is your fast. What does that mean? So when we talk about fasting in this context, we're talking about the fast of what? Of Ramadan. The fast of Ramadan. And fasting, shar'an, in religious terminology, in general, it has two fundamental pillars. You guys know, every act of worship has what? Has arkan. I want you to imagine it like you imagine like baking a cake, right? Baking a cake, the cake has what? Arkan, which means what? It has essential ingredients without which you're not going to make a cake. You feel it? So for example, flour. Flour is a rukn of making a cake. If you don't have flour, you're not making a cake. You can have baking soda, you can have salt, you can have sugar all day long. You can have eggs too. You put them all together, you're not going to make a cake. Without what? Without flour. Y'all see what I'm saying? It's a rukn. The same thing, every act of worship has what? Has arkan. Has things that are essential ingredients without which you won't have the ibadah. So for example, look at salat. Al-Fatiha. What is salat without Al-Fatiha? It's a cake without flour. Y'all see that? As the Prophet said in the hadith, La salat liman lam yaqra bi Fatihat al-kitab. There's no prayer for the one who doesn't read Surah Al-Fatiha and salat. Same thing with fasting. It has essential ingredients, essential components. Without them, you don't have fasting. And it's basically two. It's what? Al-imsak bi-niyyah. Or al-imsak ma'a-niyyah. It's that you refrain, you withhold from the things you're supposed to withhold from, with what? With the intention of what? Worshiping Allah. Those two pillars, one pillar's not there, I got the intention to fast, but I'm what? I'm eating. There's no good, right? And I'm homesick. I'm not eating. But I don't what? I don't have the intention. I just woke up this morning, didn't have time to have breakfast, went to work, got busy at work, and never got around to eating anything. And I'm homesick. I'm refraining. But am I fasting? No, because I don't have what? I don't have the intention. Two essential components without which you don't have what? You don't have fasting. You see that? But when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, is this the fast that Allah is talking about? When Allah says in the Quran, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu kutiba alaykumus siyam. Oh, you who believe, fasting has been prescribed for you. Is Allah just talking about an imsak ma'aniyah? It's been prescribed for you, Muslim, to abstain from the mufattirat, the things that will break your fast, with the intention. This is what's been prescribed for you, and he says at the end of the verse, لَعَلَّكُمْ تَتَّقُونَ, so that you what? Attain piety. That's it? No, it's more than that. Fasting here, in this ayah that Allah says, if you do this, I'm going to give you this. You're going to obtain this. If you fast, I prescribe fasting so you'll become pious. It's not that you just what? Don't eat, drink, and have intercourse during the daytime with the intention, and you're going to get what? This result. It's more to it than that. The fast that Allah, we're talking about protecting, and the fast that Allah's talking about in this ayah, it's not just that, but it's also, it's like basically this whole training exercise that Ramadan represents. That when Allah says, Kutiba alaykum as-siyam, it means what? Fasting the month of Ramadan with all that it entails, that's what's going to give you what? This result. And it's more to that. That training exercise that Ramadan represents is more than just what? Going without food, drink, and intercourse during the daytime. It's more. So when we talk about this fast we're trying to protect, we're talking about reading the Quran incessantly. That's the fast, or that's part of the fast that we have to protect. Another thing we're talking about is praying the night prayer. Could be, you can call it tahajjud, you can call it tarawih, but you pray that what? Regularly, nightly in Ramadan. That's part of the fast. Part of the regimen, the training exercise that Ramadan represents, the fast of Ramadan represents. It's also exerting yourself spiritually and seizing every opportunity to do good deeds. That's a part of the training exercise. You're training yourself to what? To be a person, to be a good doer. Another thing is turning up the intensity of your worship in the last 10 days. You turn it up a notch. So I was already what? I'm already at a higher level than the rest of the year. When I get to the last 10 days, I do what? I crank that joint up even more than that. Right? It also means actively seeking Laylatul Qadr. With what? With worship. Spending that whole night in worship, looking for this night, hoping to achieve this night, which is better than 1,000 months. It also means an i'tikaf, right? Seclusion in the masjid, isolating yourself in the masjid, and also includes zakat al-fitr. That zakat that we pay at the end of Ramadan, which does what? It makes up for any mistakes or shortcomings that may have come in what? In our fast. All of that, that whole regimen, that amounts to what? The fast that we're supposed to what? Protect. Not just not eating and drinking and having sex during the daytime. Y'all see what I'm saying? So all of that is what? Is what Allah means when He says, Kutiba alaykum siyam. Fasting has been prescribed for you. This regimen that Ramadan represents. And if you do it, you're going to get what? This. It's just like, check it out. Let's say one of us, right? He was just watching TV and the commercial comes over. P90X. And they show this guy, like this overweight guy, right? He said, man, I did the P90X. And then they show the after picture. He's like ripped and chiseled, right? And you say, man, I want that to be me. I'm getting ready to go get me some P90X. So you go get you get all the videos, right? And they tell you, you're going to need a yoga mat, you're going to need some dumbbells, you're going to need some kettlebells, you get all of that. And you take it home. You sit down on the couch with a bag of chips, a 2-liter of soda, right, some dip, and you put the first CD in. And you just sitting back. Woo! I can't even believe how did he even contort his body like that. Man, that's crazy. And you watch those videos religiously. Every day, you watch a new video. And when you watch the commercial, the guy said, this is the results after 1 month. So you watch the videos for a month. Every day with your bag of chips, and your 2-liter, and your hoagie, and everything, right? And after 1 month, you big as a house. You bigger than you were when you started watching P90X. And you say, man, what happened? The guy said, this is the results I would get after a month of P90X. Hey, why didn't you get the results? Why didn't you get the results, Yehwan? You didn't follow the regimen. You watched the regimen, but you didn't follow the regimen. Y'all see what I'm saying? So it's the same thing, Yehwan. The fast that we're supposed to protect, the fast that's going to produce a taqwa, is the fast that what? The fast that entails following the regimen Allah has laid out in Ramadan. Y'all see what I'm saying? Tayyib. So all of these rituals that we talked about, this is what represents the fast of Ramadan, and this is the fast that we're supposed to protect. Right? Protect by what? By, as we said, achieving the objectives, avoiding the prohibited. So now let's segue now to the objectives of fasting. The objectives of fasting. Now the thing about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and His legislation of the ibadat is that because He's al-Hakim, because He's the wise, He doesn't prescribe anything except for what? For wisdom. He never prescribes something for a trifling, foolish purpose or no purpose at all. So obviously we know for certain that when Allah prescribed fasting, He prescribed it for what? For a purpose. So we can achieve certain things from it. Right? Now, the most important objective, the most obvious objective is what? We've been talking about it the last 5-10 minutes. What? At-taqwa. He said it in the Quran. He said, Ya ayyuha alladhina amanu kutiba alaykum as-siyamu kama kutiba ala alladhina min qablikum la'allakum tattaqun. Oh, you believe I prescribed fasting for you as I prescribed it for those before you, so that you would obtain piety. So Allah is telling you the primary purpose, the primary objective of fasting is to achieve what? Piety. To be a better believer. To be a better believer, be a better Muslim, right? So you learn from this the fact that Allah explicitly mentioned piety, He specifically mentioned piety, that's the most important objective that you're supposed to be trying to achieve. The second thing you benefit from that is that the best way to achieve piety is through what? It's through fasting. Because if there was a better way to achieve it, Allah would have what? Or mention that instead. So the best way, you say to yourself, you know what, man? Making my salad and, being charitable as much as I can. I'm doing things, but I just don't feel like I'm becoming more pious. I don't feel like I'm really internally the type of believer that I want to be. How do I get to that next level? Allah is telling you that one of the best ways is what? Fasting. Doesn't mean it's not other ways, but the best way is fasting. Why? Because when he mentioned piety, he said, I prescribe fasting so you could achieve it. Means what? The best way to achieve this is fasting, and if there were a better way, I would have mentioned that instead. But that's not the only objective. It's the number one objective. The primary objective is not the only objective. And we're going to mention 5 other objectives على وجالة السريعة. The first one is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He prescribes these ibadat. He describes, and in general, He prescribes the acts of worship in general in order to separate al-abid li mawlah min al-abid li hawa. So He can separate between the person who worships his Lord and his master and the one who worships his desires. You see that? Allah prescribes the ibadat in general to separate, to distinguish the people who worship their Lord and master from those who worship their what? Their desires. The one who does these acts of worship, he worships who? Allah. And the one who can't bring himself to do these acts of worship is worshiping what? His hawa. Worshiping his what? His desires. That's another reason one of our objectives by fasting is to what? Is to be from the party, to demonstrate that we're from the party that what? That worships our Lord and Master, not our hawa. But another objective of fasting is idhar sidq iman al-abd wa quwwat mahabbatihi li rabbih. We want to demonstrate, and worship does this, fasting does this, we want to demonstrate to our Lord that we truly believe and that we love Him more than anything else. And fasting does that. You can't fast for somebody else. You can only fast for who? Because if you don't just walk down the street and say, hey, guess what? Hey, I'm fasting. Hey, I'm fasting. Meet somebody in Walmart. They're like, what you doing here, man? I'm fasting. You're not in Walmart to fast, right? If you don't broadcast the fact that you're fasting, nobody knows you're fasting except you and who? Allah. So you can't fast for somebody else. So if you're fasting out of what? Out of iman. Also, when you fast, you show that I love Allah more than anything else. Why? Because some of the most beloved things to man are his food, his drink, and what? And the other thing. Hey, man loves those things. Come on, let's just be real. So if you leave them for Allah, it means you love Allah more than anything else. Y'all see that? That's another objective. I want to show Allah. I want to proudly demonstrate to Allah I love Him more than anything else. And fasting does that. Check. Y'all see that? طيب. Another objective of fasting was mentioned by a number of scholars, but it was mentioned perhaps most eloquently by Abu Sulaiman ad-Darani. Abu Sulaiman ad-Darani, one of the great scholars from the past, the early generations, the first 3 generations of Islam. He said, إِنَّ النَّفْسَ إِذَا جَاعَتْ وَعَطِشَتْ صَفَى الْقَلْبِ وَرَقَّ وَإِذَا شَبِعَتْ وَرُوِيَتْ عَمِيَ الْقَلْبِ. Abu Sulaiman ad-Darani, he said, indeed the soul, the nafs, when it is hungry and thirsty, the heart is purified and becomes soft, and it easily absorbs what? The guidance from Allah. It easily absorbs, like a sponge. It easily absorbs it because why? It's clean There's nothing blocking the pores. No dirt and filth and gunk and corruption blocking the pores. And it's soft. Not like a rock, which does what? Which lets the hidayah splash off and bounce off. Right? It repels it. No, it's like a sponge. It does what? It absorbs it. He said this results when what? When you're hungry and thirsty. And you feel it. When you fast, and you feel what? You feel closer to Allah. You feel it. You feel like I'm able to what? Resist sin. I'm thinking, I'm more conscious of my Lord. You feel it. He said, on the other hand, if the soul is fed and given its drink until it's full, the heart will then do what? It will be blinded. And that's true too. When we have everything we need, more than what we need, we have a tendency to become what? Forgetful and lazy. Our hearts become hard and they repel the truth like a rock repels water. See that? So this is another objective of fasting. We want our hearts to be what? To be soft and to be pure. And fasting has that effect. Wa alaikum salam. Tayyib. Another objective, number 5, is that when you fast, you go without your food, you go without your drink, you go without your partner, then you appreciate these what? These gifts from Allah that you're deprived of. You appreciate them more. Because when you don't have something, you appreciate it. When you have it, you take it for granted, right? And also, when you go without these things, you empathize with the people who what? Who they don't go without them voluntarily, they go without them involuntarily. You have sympathy for them. And what that does, it leads you to be more what? To be more generous. One, I have more than I need, right? Because I'm able to what? Voluntarily give up food. And look at these people who don't have. I should do what? Give from my surplus to them. This is a natural what? A natural response. And that's why you find that Ibn Abbas, he said about describing the Prophet ﷺ in Ramadan, he described him, he said, كان النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم أجود الناس بالخير وكان أجود ما يكون في رمضان. He said the Prophet ﷺ was the most generous of people with good. And he was the most generous he would be in what? In Ramadan. So that's another objective of Ramadan. It makes us what? It makes us more appreciative of what we have and more generous with what we have. And we empathize with what? With the people in need. Last but not least, Ikhwan, from the objectives of fasting, is it enables us to achieve dabt an-nafs, self-control, self-restraint, and discipline. Enables you to what? To control yourself. Unlike any other ibadah, you learn how to what? To rein yourself in, to be in control, and not let yourself be in control of you, you in control of yourself. Nothing does that better than what? Than fasting. And the proof for that is the famous hadith like about Bukhari Muslim on the authority of Abdellah ibn Mas'ud, in which the Prophet ﷺ, he said, Ya ma'ashar al-shabab, O gathering of young men, man istata'a minkum al-ba'a falyatazawwaj. He said, whoever amongst you, O young men, who has the financial capability to get married, then let him do what? Let him get married. فَإِنَّهُ أَغَضُّ لِلْبَصَرِ, because it's more able to help him lower what? His gaze. وَأَحْصَنْ لِلْفَرْجِ, and to guard his what? His chastity, right? Guard his chastity, maintain his chastity. وَمَنْ لَمْ يَسْتَطِعْ, whoever doesn't have the money, doesn't have the means, فَعَلَيْهِ بِالصَّوْمِ, then let him fast. فَإِنَّهُ لَهُ وِجَاء, because it will help him, enable him to suppress what? His desires and bridle his passion. Y'all see that? Another objective. I want to be in control. I don't want myself to be in control of me. I want to be in control of myself. So that's 6 objectives. Let's try to review. What's the first objective we said? Number 1 objective of fasting. Taqwa. Right? Allah says in the Quran, لَعَلَّكُمْ تَتَّقُونَ means what? Number one thing you should be targeting is taqwa, piety. Number two,
Show love for Allah.
ahsan, you want to show Allah that you love Him more than anything else. So you leave the things you love for what? For His sake. That's number two. Number three, we said had to do with what? Differentiate between the people who they worship their Lord and Master, and some people worship what? Their desires. That's three. Number four, we said Abu Sulaiman al-Dari he mentioned, or al-Darani he mentioned.
Appreciate to appreciate things that you give up
Ahsan.
for the sake of Allah.
Okay, so you go without something that you have a surplus of, so you appreciate it, and it makes you empathize, and then as a result you do what? You become generous. Mumtaz. That's four. We got two more to go. One of them we said came from Abu Sulaiman al-Darani. He said that when you don't eat, you don't drink, what happens to the heart? It gets soft. It gets purified, right? And when you eat too much, it gets what? It gets hard and it becomes blind, right? Like Mumtaz. One left. We said what? We mentioned Hadith of Ibn Mas'ud.
Self-control.
Self-control. You want to be in the driver's seat, right? You don't want the soul in the driver's seat. Mumtaz. All right. So now let's go now, ya ikhwan. Let's shift gears now to acts prohibited to the fasting person. Let's shift gears to acts prohibited to the fasting person. So now, the acts that are prohibited, outright haram, we can divide them into two categories. One is general, and the other is what? Specific to fasting. So you have some things that what? They're prohibited what? Regardless whether you're fasting or not. And some things which are specific to what? To fasting. Like, so on the front, or from, as far as the general is concerned, everything prohibited to the non-fasting person is prohibited to what? To the fasting person. However, pay attention to this, ya ikhwan. However, the penalty for doing prohibited things during the month of fasting, the month of Ramadan, is what? Is amplified and multiplied. Means, for example, backbiting. Backbiting is haram, wallah. It's haram. But it becomes what more? More haram when you're fasting. And the sin for it is what? Is amplified, magnified, multiplied when you're fasting. And this is evidenced by the hadith in which the Prophet said, "Man lam yada' qawl az-zur wal 'amala bihi wal jahl falaysa lillahi haja an yada' ta'amahu wa sharabah." He said, whoever does not abstain from falsehood, lying, in word and deed. Lying is haram, ya ikhwan? Even when you're not fasting? Fight. And ignorant behavior, sins, and we're going to talk about how ignorant behavior and sins, how they're the same, then Allah has no need, does not want him to leave his food and drink. This hadith tells you, all right, that it's more serious when you do these things when you're supposed to be what? When you're supposed to be fasting. And I'm going to explain. The first thing I want to explain is that sisters, we can hear you talking. And if we hear you talking, then we can't talk. So if you want, I can stop talking and we can listen to you guys. I'm cool with that. Thank you, sister. طيب. So, in this hadith, the Prophet said, "Man lam yada' qawl az-zur wal 'amal bihi wal jahl." Whoever doesn't abandon lying in word or falsehood in word and deed, bearing false testimony, wal jahl. Jahl, literally, we translate it as ignorance. But many of the scholars have interpreted al-jahl in this hadith as a reference to sin. Basically, the Prophet is saying whoever does not abandon falsehood, lying, bearing false witness, and what? And sin in general. What's the proof? Why do they say that? قال Qatada, one of the great commentators on the Quran, he said, أجمع أصحاب رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم أن كل ما عصي الله به فهو جهالة. He said the companions of Muhammad صلى الله عليه وسلم, they are in agreement, they unanimously agree that every sin is a type of ignorance. Every sin is a type of ignorance. وقال بعض السلف, and some of the early Muslims, they used to say, كل من عصى الله فهو جاهل. Every person who sins, every person who violates the commands of Allah is what? Is ignorant. But kif. How? How are they ignorant by what? By sinning. The scholars explain, they say, جاهل بحق الله. They're ignorant of what? Of Allah's right. ومقامه, and his what? His station, his status. وقدره, and how he should be what? Estimated. ومراقبته, and the fact that he's always what? Watching. وقوة بطشه, and what? And how strong is what? His grasp, and severe is his what? His punishment. Because anybody who really understands these things and knows who Allah really is would never do what? Would never sin. Y'all see that? So the only person who sins against Allah is somebody who really doesn't what? He really doesn't know who he's dealing with. Right? Y'all know that line, you must not know about me, right? Come on, man. If you know who Allah really is, would you sin? No, we forget. Or we underestimate. We improperly estimate who we're dealing with. And so we do what? We sin. Y'all see that? So when the Prophet ﷺ said the hadith, مَنْ لَمْ يَدَعْ قَوْلَ الزُّورِ وَالْعَمَلْ بِهِ وَالْجَهْلِ, the one who doesn't abandon lying and bearing false testimony and jahl, he means what? Sin in general, because every person who sins is what? Is jahl. طيب, let's contemplate the hadith a little bit. One thing it tells us, as we said earlier, is that deeds are more sinful when done what? When you're fasting. That's one thing, one message in the hadith. But also I want you to pay attention to what the wording that the Prophet used. The Prophet said, فَلَيْسَ لِلَّهِ حَاجَةً أَنْ يَدَعْ طَعَامَهُ وَشَرَابَهُ. He said if that person doesn't leave these sins while he's fasting, Allah doesn't need his fast. I'm going to ask you, if he left the sin, if he didn't sin, would Allah need his fast? Allah is al-Ghani al-Hamid. Allah is the one who's worthy of praise, the one who's what? Free of all needs. I don't need nothing. Whether you fast or you don't fast, it's the same. Siyan, it's all the same. I don't need your fast. So what does that mean then? It either means it is as if he didn't fast in the first place, which is an allusion to the fact that Allah is not going to what? Allah is not going to accept it. Allah is going to reject that fast. Because what? Because he sinned. That sin makes his fast unacceptable. Now I have a question for you. Does that mean he has to repeat that day? Mathalan, let me give you an example. Let's say we have brother X. Brother X is fasting in Ramadan. On a particular day, he got into an argument with somebody, and after the argument met with another brother and started backbiting the other brother. Man, that brother this, and that brother that, and that brother that. Now, backbiting is a sin, right? And the one who sins in Ramadan, فَلَيْسَ لِلَّهِ حَاجَةً, Allah doesn't have a need for his fast. And we said one of the meanings that the scholars have given to that is Allah is not going to what? Accept it. So now, does that mean that his fast is broken? His fast is nullified. And so he's got to make up that day, and he can go to the restaurant and go ahead and eat, man. Yeah, I'll backbit that brother, man. I might as well go get me a hoagie. Can he do that? He can't do that. But so what does it mean that Allah will reject it? I want you to pay attention, ya ikhwan. When it comes to any deed that we do, we're going to get two things from Allah. You go and you just made Salat al-Asr. When you make Salat al-Asr, you're looking for two things from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The first thing is a certificate of achievement, a certificate of participation, a check next to your name where the word Asr is. Did Abdurrahman play Asr? Check. He prayed Asr. Y'all see that? The second thing you're looking for is what? Hasanat, thawab, reward. And Allah is going to reward you in accordance with what? With your sincerity, with how well you did the act of worship. Did you do its arkan? Did you do its sunnah? Did you do its wajibat? Etc. The better you do at those things, the more rewards you're going to get. Y'all see that? So now this person, who Allah didn't accept his fast because he was backbiting, for example. He got the first what? Check. Certificate of participation. But what he doesn't get is what? The hasanah. You guys see that? That's the first interpretation the scholars gave to the hadith. The second interpretation they gave is they said, no. The fast is entitled to a reward. The person is going to get a reward. He fasted. Right? Allah is going to give him a reward. But the reward he gets, the reward he gets is going to be greatly outweighed by the sin he earns, the evil deeds he earns by doing the sin while what? While fasting. Y'all gotta see that? Make sense? The brother says, no, it don't make sense. I don't like that. I'm not feeling it. What you talking about? Play it. All right. So that's the general side. That's the general side. We said that the acts prohibited while fasting can be divided into two categories: general and specific. General sins and sins or prohibited acts specific to fasting. With me? Play it. Should we review that or we got that? If I test you guys on what I just said, can you pass the test? Y'all want to try? Play it. Let's try. Come on. All right. So we said that general refers to acts which are prohibited whether you're fasting or you're not fasting. And we said that the sin for these deeds in Ramadan while you're fasting is what? Multiply. And we gave a hadith that's a proof that the sins are multiplied. What's the hadith? We just said it. It's not as fast and accepted. Allah has no what? Need for his fast. I sent it. Y'all tag team perfect. We're there, mashallah. All right, now, this word jahad in the hadith, the scholars interpret it in a certain way. Man lam yada' qawl az-zur wal 'amdihi wal jahl. The one who doesn't leave lying, bearing false testimony in word and deed, and ignorance, which is the literal meaning of jahl. But we said that's not what it means in the hadith. It means something else. What does it mean? Sin. Like, what's the proof? What's the proof that it means sin? Jahl. And you're going to find this a lot in the Quran and in the hadith. That the word jahl actually means what? Sin. Like, what's the proof?
Because the one who sins would be ignorant.
Okay, that's the ta'wil, that's how we explain it. But before that, we have something that actually proves that this is how we should interpret it. So hold on to that, because you're going to need that. And we mentioned something that's significant. This is a hujjah that should be significant and precious to all of us. When somebody says this hujjah, so for example, if somebody said, my proof is the ayah in the Quran, that's precious to us. Because it's the Quran, it's the speech of Allah. Somebody says, my proof is what? The hadith where the Prophet said. That's precious to us, because what? The words of Rasulullah. But the proof that we gave wasn't Quran and hadith, but it's still what? It's equally precious. What was it? Ijma' ashab Rasulullah. the agreement, the unanimous agreement of what the companions. When they agree on something, khalas, ain't nothing to be said. Nobody's understood the deen better than them. Y'all see that? So when the companions agree about something, khalas, we're done. There's nothing else to talk about. You see that? And they agreed what? They agreed that the word jahad is what? Is sin. You see that? That anybody who sins, every sin is called what? Jahada, ignorance. Like, tell me why. What's the correlation between sin and ignorance? Why? Somebody can be intelligent and still sin. If you really knew Allah, you wouldn't what? Sin. You don't really know Allah if you sin. Y'all see that? You might know Him some, but you don't know Him the way you're supposed to know Him. Y'all see that? Mumtaz. All right, thank you. So now, we said that hadith tells us that the deeds done while you're fasting are what? They're multiplied, magnified. You sin, you're in trouble, big trouble. But what is the meaning of this expression when the Prophet said, فَلَيْسَ لَدَيْهِ حَاجَةٌ? Allah doesn't need that he leaves his food and drink. Should we understand from that that if the person is pious and obeys Allah and doesn't sin while in Ramadan, that Allah needs his fast? No, Allah doesn't need it whether he's good or bad. So then how do we interpret this statement of the Prophet? How do we interpret it? One is he doesn't what? He doesn't receive reward. That's the Prophet telling you he's not getting rewarded by Allah. Does that mean then that khalas, this day doesn't count, I'm not going to get rewarded, I might as well go and have lunch? You see why it's a fast? So then what does it mean that Allah won't accept? Allah won't accept. There's two types of what? There's two levels of acceptance, right? Participation is the first level. He gets what? He gets that level. What's the second level? What?
Certificate of completion.
Okay, certificate of completion, participation, that's the same. That's the same level. What's the second level? The reward. He's not going to get what? He's not going to get that level. That's what it means when Allah won't what? Accept. Like that's one interpretation. The second interpretation of laysa lillahi haja, Allah has no need. What was the second interpretation we gave? And you guys are doing a good job. I want you to know that. I don't want you to feel like if we don't get this, oh, we're bad. No, y'all. You guys are doing a good job. A couple people are taking notes, but without the notes, y'all still what? Reeling them off. We just got one more, and we're done. What was the second interpretation of فَلَيْسَ لِلَّهِ حَاجَةٌ? Allah has no need. What was the second interpretation? In that interpretation, yes. He's going to get a reward. Allah's not going to cheat him. He fasted, he'll get a reward. But the sin he gets is going to outweigh what? Outweigh the reward. SubhanAllah. Ahsantum. Good job, ya ikhwan. MashaAllah. Okay, so then after that, after we did the general, we said specific. That there are specific things that a fasting person, if he does them, they're prohibited, right? Things that he's not supposed to do while he's fasting. Those things can be divided into what? Into two categories. The first one is mufsidat as-sawm, or we could call them mufattirat. Mufsidat as-sawm or mufattirat. Mufsidat as-sawm, mufsidat means something that what? It nullifies. It negates the fast. Mufattirat means what? A fast breaker. It breaks the fast. That's the first category of what? The things that are specifically prohibited for the fasting person. Second category is what we call them makruhat. Discouraged practices which can potentially underline the word potentially, diminish the reward for fasting. So you have makruhat, you have disliked things, discouraged things, they won't diminish the reward. And discouraged things will do what? Which will diminish the reward. Y'all feel me? With me? Let's go to the first one, the first category, which is mufsidat, as-sawm, or mufattirat. Fast breakers, or things which will nullify the fast. We're going to mention 9 of them. But before we mention these 9 mufsidat, or mufattirat, I want to give you a qa'idah. I want to give you a principle that's important for you to live by as you go through life fasting yourself, teaching your wife and your children how to fast, getting asked by brothers who are new and they're coming up in the deen about fasting. They're going to ask you, hey man, does this break your fast? Does that break your fast? And you need to understand there's an asl, a qa'idah, a principle. That an asl, the original rule, the rule of thumb when it comes to things, is that they what? They don't break your fast. Without what? Without proof to the contrary. So a person comes and says, hey man, I got some free passes to the YMCA, man, and I love to swim. Does swimming break your fast? What's the answer? No. Unless what? Unless you got proof to the contrary, right? Somebody says, hey man, I got this real fly cologne, man. Can I, when I go to work in the morning, can I spray it on myself? Or will that break my fast? Huh, what are you gonna say? Nah, unless you got what? Proof to the contrary. That spraying cologne on yourself is gonna break your fast, right? So the asl, the original rule when it comes to things, is that they don't break your fast unless what? Unless we have proof, which means that if I say this is a mufattir, I say, hey man, this will break your fast. You should ask me, I want the proof. Y'all see that? طيب. Mumtaz. So let's go down the list. The first one, the first mufattir, the first thing that will break your fast, invalidate it, render it null and void, is an akal or shurb. Eating and what?
Drink.
And drinking. Y'all okay with that? No, you're not okay with it. You're not okay with it. You want what? You want proof. Y'all feel me? I don't care how you think it's obvious. No, I still want what? I want proof. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَكُلُوا وَاشْرَبُوا حَتَّى يَتَبَيَّنَ لَكُمُ الْخَيْطُ الْأَبْيَضُ مِنَ الْخَيْطِ الْأَسْوَدِ مِنَ الْفَجْرِ ثُمَّ أَتِمُّوا الصِّيَامَ إِلَى اللَّيْلِ. He says, eat and drink until the white thread becomes clear from what? The white thread of dawn becomes clear from the black thread of night. When that happens, when you see the crack of dawn, atimmu siyam ila layl. Then complete the fast until what? Night. As if to say, stop eating, stop drinking until what? Until the nighttime. Which tells you what? Eating and drinking is something you should not be doing while what? While you're fasting. Y'all okay with that? Y'all comfortable with that? Okay, so eating and drinking will break your fast. We agree? And we got the proof. Mumtaz. Number 2. I want to ask y'all a question real quick. This is just a side thing, if I have y'all permission. Is it alright if I ask y'all a question? Y'all okay with that? Mumtaz. Suppose, it's hypothetical. It can happen. Suppose I'm at work, running around doing my thing. Mine is on this meeting I got, this report I got to present, something like that. Walking past this water fountain, feeling a little parched. I take a sip, and then I realize, oh, I was fasting. I just drank, and you just said eating and drinking will break your fast. Was my fast broken?
No.
You say no. Y'all sure? Okay, all right, I'm cool with that. Y'all cool with that? I'm cool with that. We got to have a proof though. All right, so I'm cool with that because we have a hadith from Abu Hurairah in which he said that the Prophet said, "Man nasiya wa huwa sa'im, fa'akala aw sharib, falyutimma sawmah, fa'innama at'amahu Allah wa saqah." He said, whoever was fasting and he what? He forgot. And while he was in a state of forgetfulness, he ate or he drank. Then let him what? Complete his fast. It was only Allah who fed him and gave him drink. So Allah is going to what? He's going to pardon that. It was a state of forgetfulness, and he's going to get what? He's going to get the reward for fasting. In spite of it. You'll see that? So if you eat and drink or do any mufattir, and this is what? A general rule too, a general qaida, a general principle. If you do any mufattir, anything that breaks your fast, you do it out of what? Forgetfulness, then what? Then you continue your fast. Y'all see that? Similar to that is if you do a mufattir out of ignorance. Suppose you didn't know, you thought eating, when we fast from eating. New Muslim, you fast from eating, but you can drink water. Right? And then somebody tells them, yeah, it's Ramadan, what you doing? You're like, what? I'm not eating anything. Oh, no. Fasting is from food and drinks. Like, oh, I didn't know that. Does he have to make that day up? Oh, I did. He has to make it up. Ish. Why? Why does he have to make it up? He didn't know. If he didn't know the ruling, if he doesn't know the ruling, he did not know the ruling. Because we have a general principle, and it's supported by Abdellah. We have a general principle. Al-Jahil bil-Hukm. إذا فعل محظورا أو ترك مأمورا فلا يؤمر بشيء. That the person who doesn't know the ruling, if as a result of his ignorance he does the wrong thing, or fails to do something he was obligated to do, there's no what? There's no sin upon him, and he's not what? Commanded to do anything. And we find lots of evidence in the book of the Sunnah where people did things out of ignorance, not knowing the hukum, and they weren't what? Order to make what? Amends. I want y'all to keep that in mind. Because I'm going to come back and I'm going to throw a curve and I'm going to see who's really paying attention. All right? So we said, if you eat or drink or do any mufattir, any fast breaker, out of forgetfulness, you do what? Continue your fast. We also said, pay attention to what I'm telling you now. If you do any mufattir, anything that breaks your fast because you don't know the ruling, I didn't know that this broke your fast, then also what? Your fast is what? Is correct. You with me? Okay, and one of the evidences for this is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَمَا كُنَّ مُعَذِّبِينَ حَتَّى نَبْعَثْ رَسُولًا. We're not going to punish anybody or hold them accountable until what? Until the information what? Comes to them. Until they know what they're doing is wrong. You see that? But the next mufattir, the next thing that will break your fast, number 2, is consuming anything, solid or liquid, through the mouth, and it subsequently enters the throat and then what? Ultimately reaches the stomach. Pay attention. You consume anything, it could be solid or liquid, enters through what? The mouth. Then enters what? The throat, and then does what? Reaches the stomach. Anything you take into your mouth, solid or liquid, ultimately ends up in your stomach, is what? Your fast is what? Broken. See that? Tayyib. So suppose a person puts a rock in their mouth and just sucks on it. Does that break their fast? Nope. Doesn't break their fast. Because yeah, they put something in their mouth, but then do what? Into their throat and go into the stomach. Suppose they put a rock in their mouth, a little pebble, sucking on it, and they're like, this is not food, it's not drink, and they just swallow that joint. Then what? Broke your fast. Why? It's not food and drink, but it's what? It's a solid, it's light food, it's analogous. So we say that it's prohibited qiyasan, by analogy. Y'all see that? Prohibited by analogy. Let's say a person just, I don't know, just stupid, drinks some gasoline. He says not food and drink. Did he break his fast? Yeah, he's gonna die too, but he broke his fast, right? Because he what? He took it into his mouth, went to his throat, went to his stomach. Even if something can kill you, if you take it into your body the way you normally take food and drink, is guess what? Your fast is broken. Y'all see that? Qiyasan, by analogy. Those are the 2. You got a question?
Yeah.
I told you.
On the same thing, I'll call it. If you chew on the misrex
Mm-hmm.
and you spit it out and you don't let the liquid go down your stomach, that doesn't work.
Oh no.
Although the misrex is in your mouth.
Mm-hmm. Putting something in your mouth, as we're going to see, doesn't break your fast. That's why we said it enters you consume it by what? Putting it in your mouth, and then it goes down your throat, and ultimately enters what? The stomach. You see that? So if you consume it through your mouth and ultimately into your stomach, that's different than what? Just putting it in what? In your mouth. Just something going in your mouth does not break your fast. You're going to see the proof for that shortly. I follow you.
I had a question going back to what you said. When you read out these just eat and drink until the white threads come, how does that apply to the false fajr?
False fajr, it goes what? Vertically. True fajr goes what? horizontally. So the false Fajr, what you see is what? You see a white line that goes what? It goes up into the sky. Right? It doesn't separate between what? Between, on the horizon, it doesn't separate between darkness and light. It does what? It's just a light that goes up. Straight up. Whereas the light of dawn goes what? It goes horizontally, so it does what? It creates what? A fissure between night and the crack of day or the beginning of day. طيب, okay. Number 3, from the mufattirat, intercourse. Intimacy, sexual relations. Alright? Y'all good? Y'all good with that? We just move on? What did we say in the beginning? We said God proof. God proof. Because the asl, the original rules are what? It doesn't break your fast. We need proof that it does. So, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, He says, أُحِلُّ لَكُمْ لَيْلَةَ الصِّيَامِ الرَّفَثُ إِلَى نِسَائِكُمْ. He says, it has been legalized for you on the night of the fast to be intimate with your spouses. Here you have something called mafhum at-taqsim. Right? You have what is understood from what? From the category. If I say to you, you're at my house, and a young man comes down the steps, and I say, this is my oldest son, Ayub. Right? And you ask me, you say, okay, well, what's your youngest son's name? And I say, what youngest son? This is the only son I got. What are you going to say? Ahsant. Automatically, you understand from me saying oldest that there must be what? A younger one. Y'all see that? That's what we call mafhum at-taqsim. So when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, أُحِلَّ لَكُمْ لَيْلَةَ الصِّيَامِ, it's lawful for you on the night of the fasts to be intimate with your wives. What do you understand from that? It's not permissible what? In the daytime. Mafhum at-taqsim. Y'all see that? Y'all feeling me? So intercourse is what? It's not allowed. طيب. We also have the hadith of Bukhari in which the man came to the Prophet ﷺ and he said, Ya Rasulullah, ahlaktu. I'm sorry, he said, Ya Rasulullah, halaktu. He said, O Messenger of Allah, I'm destroyed. I'm ruined. The Prophet said, وَمَا أَهْلَكَكَ. And what has destroyed you? The man said, وَقَعْتُ عَلَى امْرَأَتِي فِي دَهَارِ Ramadan. He said, I had relations with my wife in the daytime of Ramadan. Tells you what? I wasn't supposed to do that. Okay? طيب, في إشكال. There's a problem here. Well, no, let me finish the hadith and then I'll tell you where I see the problem. And I want y'all to tell me where the problem's at. Or is there a problem? So, the man said, I had relations with my wife in Ramadan. And the Prophet said, هل تستطيع أن تؤتك رقبة? He said, can you free a slave? The man said, no, I can't do that. He said, هل تستطيع أن تصوم شهرين متتابعين? He said, are you able to fast 2 months consecutively? He said, I couldn't even fast 1 day. So then the Prophet said, هل تستطيع أن تطعم 60 مسكينا? He said, can you feed 64 people? And the Prophet said, O Messenger of Allah, is there anybody poorer in Medina than me?
That's what the man said.
So the Prophet said, sit down. Like, wait. طيب, this man, he didn't know that if he had relations with his wife, he was going to have to either fast 60 days or free a slave or feed 60 people. He didn't know that. But the Prophet still held him accountable. So explain to me, how are we going to understand this hadith in light of what we said earlier if you don't know that something is a mufattir, you don't know something to break your fast, then your fast is not broken, your fast is still valid. I want y'all to reconcile between these two. Because you guys created a problem by saying that. Now y'all have to fix it. I want y'all to pay attention. You got to be, I'm tricking you, but you're not going to be tricked.
First of all, the
Uh-huh.
Prophet gave him a way out, somebody was so. And by him being ignorant, he took his time to explain to him
Mm-hmm.
about what he did.
Okay.
So by that, he gave him a way out of it. By bringing the food, told him to take the food he gave to me.
Okay, that's the end of the hadith. But I'm saying right now, this man comes and he says, Ya Rasulullah halaktu. He says, O Messenger of Allah, I'm ruined. قال وما أهلكك? He said, and what has ruined you? He said, وقعت على امرأتي في نهار رمضان. He said, I have a relationship with my wife in the daytime of Ramadan. The Prophet said, hey, can you do this? Can you do this? Can you do this? He's like, oh, I know all that. He's like, I ain't know how to do all that. No, I can't do none of that. Right? So now my question to you is that the Prophet is holding him accountable for the thing that he did, even though he was ignorant. So I'm trying to understand, how do we reconcile? Father shit.
He didn't know the kafara, but he knew that it was generally
Who? Yes, Salam, yes. The man was ignorant of what? Of the uquba. He didn't know what was going to be the consequences, but he knew that what he did was a sin. It was wrong. It was a mufaqqir. How do we know he knew? Because he said, Ya Rasulullah, halaktu. I'm ruined. I know I did something wrong. So there's a difference between al-jahil bil-hukm wal-jahil bil-hal, or al-jahil bil-uquba. There's a difference between the one who I don't know the ruling in the first place and the one who I don't know the consequence. The one who doesn't know the ruling, we don't hold him accountable. The one who doesn't know the consequence, we hold him what? Accountable. Y'all see that? Mumtaz. So what we said so far is salim. Everything we said is right. And this hadith, although I'm tricking you, it wasn't really a problem in the first place, right? But let's go to the next one, number 4. And that is ejaculation as a direct result of masturbation or physical interaction, al-mubashara. So if a person ejaculates because of something he does to himself, or because of his interaction with what? With his partner. Maybe they don't actually have what? Intercourse, as we call it. But they do like the muqaddimat. They kind of fool around and what? He ejaculates. Then we say what? That person has broken what? His fast. Qiyasan, as an analogy to what? To actual intercourse. The result is the same, then what? The result is the same. Y'all see what I'm saying? So that's 4. Number 5. Determining or being intent on breaking the fast. In Arabic we say al-azm al-fitr. A person basically in their head, they make up their mind to what? To break their fast. Number 6 is being what? Being indecisive and wavering between continuing and discontinuing. So the two are kind of connected. Person says, man, I'm not fasting anymore. They make up in their mind, I'm not fasting anymore. Or they're like, I'm going to fast, no, I'm going to fast, I'm going to continue, I'm going to discontinue. They're wavering. Those two, their fast is what? Broken. Whether they eat or drink or not. Why? Because we said, what is a siyam, shar'an? What is the legal definition of fasting? A siyam, al-imsak bi-niyah. Or al-imsak ma-niyah. It is refraining with what? With the intention. What is the intention? The intention, al-azm. The resolve, the determination to what? To do something for a specific purpose. Once you lose that niyyah, that azm, once you take that away, what happened to your building of fasting? It fell down. You lose that pillar, it falls down. Y'all see that? So you have to be determined to fast throughout the fast, or you have no fast. So that takes us up to what? 6. The first one we said was eating and drinking. The second was consuming what? Anything through the mouth and entering the stomach. Number 3 was intercourse. Number 4 was ejaculation, which is similar to what? Intercourse. Number 5 was making up your mind to break it. Number 6, wavering. Number 7, intentional vomiting. You vomit what? On purpose. Man, that ain't sitting right, man. You make yourself vomit, right? Intentional vomiting does what? It breaks the fast. We have an athar on authority of Umar and Sahih in which he said, من ضرعه القيء فلا شيء عليه ومن استقاع فعليه القضاء. He said, whoever is overcome by vomiting, He didn't make himself vomit, he just what? He got nauseous and got sick and he vomited. فَلَا شَيْءَ عَلَيْهِ. Then there's what? There's nothing upon him, he can continue his fast, everything is good. Right? وَمَنِ اسْتَقَى, but the one who intentionally vomits, فَعَلَيْهِ الْقَضَى. He has to what? He has to make up that day. His fast is what? Is broken. طيب. The next one, number 8, is cupping and getting cupped. You guys know cupping, right? Right? Bloodletting. It's, during the time of the Prophet ﷺ, it was a very popular medicinal treatment where they treated lots of different illnesses. They treated headaches with it. They treated sinus with it. They use it for a lot of different beneficial means, and it's still used today in the Muslim world for different medicinal purposes. So if a person does it, the person who actually does it for the person, like the cupper himself, and the one who gets cupped, both of them won. Their fast is broken by what? By cupping. Now this issue right here, there's some difference of opinion about it. And I think what we're going to do is we're going to go to the 9th one and we're going to circle back and talk about the difference of opinion. So that was 8, cupping and getting cupped. Number 9 is apostasy. Apostasy. A person just what? Becomes a disbeliever. Brother wakes up, Muslim, starts his fast. During the daytime, something happens, gets out of sorts, and just, man, I ain't Muslim anymore. Actually says something like that with the Abdellah. I renounce my faith, right? I accept you know who is my Lord and Savior, right? Say something crazy like that on social media or something. And then at the end of the day, before iftar, he comes to his senses. Whatever it was that upset him, he gets a handle on it. And he what? He re-accepts the faith, re-enters into the fold of Islam, hasn't eaten all that time. And he says, you know, my fast is still good. Is his fast still good? As soon as he left the deen, his deed was what? Nullified. As Allah says, لَإِنْ أَشْرَكْتَ لَيَحْبَطَنَّ عَمَلُكَ. If you disbelieve, then all your deeds become what? Vain. And Allah says in the Quran as well, He says, وَمَا مَنَعَهُمْ أَن تُقْبَلَ مِنْهُمْ نَفَقَاتُهُمْ إِلَّا إِنَّهُمْ كَفَرُوا بِاللَّهِ وَبِرَسُولِهِ. Nothing prevented them from having their good deeds, their charity, their good deeds accepted, except that they what? They disbelieved in Allah and His Messenger. You disbelieve in Allah, you got nothing coming. Y'all see that? طيب. So that was 9 mufattirat or mufsidat. This so 9 things that will what? Break your fast, nullify your fast. Let's circle back to this whole cupping thing, right? Because there's a difference of opinion amongst the scholars about the cupping thing. Let's talk about that in a little bit more detail. But the reason why we say it does break the fast is based upon the hadith like al-khamsa, the 5. Who are the 5 yet for? Help me out with that. Who are the 5? Who are the 5? Huh?
So with the 5 from the Abdellah, like Abdullah ibn Umar.
No. When we say collected by the 5, we mean the 5 most famous collectors or canonical books of hadith. So now Bukhari and Muslim are not from the 5. So when we say Bukhari and Muslim, we say muttafiqun alayh.
No.
Agreed upon, right? When we say the 4, who are the 4? Abu Dawood, Tirmidhi, An-Nasa'i, Ibn Majah. That's the 4. So if you notice, Shaykhan, muttafiqun alayh, is just what? The 2 Bukhari and Muslim. The 4 is these 4 collectors of what they call Ashab as-Sunan, right? But if you combine those together, the 4 and the 2, you get what? As-Sitta, right? As-Sitta will be what? Bukhari, Muslim, Abu Dawood, Nasa'i, Majah, Tirmidhi. طيب, if you say Al-Jama'ah or Sab'a, Ahmed joins the party. So you got Al-Bukhari, Muslim, Ahmed, was Ashab as-Sunan, the 4. طيب, you say Al-Khamsa, 2 left the party. Al-Khamsa, 2 left the party. Just think about it. 2 left. Who do you think the 2 would be? La. Al-Bukhari Muslim. He said, Khams al-Bukhari Muslim, leave the party. Who's left? Ashab al-Sunnah wa Ahmed. So, this hadith is about Khamsa illa Tirmidhi. So, Ahmed, Abu Dawood, and Nasai, Ibn Majah. Right? They collected this hadith. Tirmidhi didn't collect it. It's from Shaddad ibn Aus. And it's a hadith in which the Prophet said, Afdal al-Hajim wal-Mahjum. The one who cupped and the one who got cupped, they both what? Their fast is broken. Their fast is nullified. And this is the opinion of Ahmed was Ishaq al-Rahaway. Ahmed is Ishaq al-Rahaway, they say, you get cupped or you cup someone, your fast is broken. But there's another hadith here, Juan, collected by, how are we doing on time, Umar? Alhamdulillah. There's another hadith about Bukhari on authority of Ibn Abbas. Ibn Abbas, he said, and the Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, ihtajama wa sa'im, wa ihtajama wa muhrim. He said that the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he got cupped while he was fasting. And he got cupped while he was in ihram, while he was making either al-hajj or al-umrah. And this is the opinion that it doesn't break your fast of Abu Hanifa, Malik, and the Shafi'i rahimahullah ta'ala. طيب, now, let's take a closer look at this second hadith. The hadith of Ibn Abbas, in which he said the Prophet got cupped while he was fasting. Now, this hadith could be interpreted in one of three ways. The first interpretation is that the Prophet ﷺ, he got cupped, and when he got cupped, he broke his fast. Is that possible? Is that possible to be interpreted like that? Yeah. It could mean he got cupped and what? And broke his fast. فَفَسَدَ صَوْمُهُ أَوْ أَفْسَدَ صَوْمَهُ. And if we take that interpretation, then what? It won't contradict with what? With the first hadith. And we won't have to do what? Act by one hadith and leave another. And we have a qaida in usul fiqh that says, العمل بدليلين أولى من إهمال أحدهما. That acting in accordance with two of the proof texts is preferred over acting in accordance with what? One of them and abandoning the other one. Because why? We're told to obey Allah and His Messenger what? Mutlaqan, completely. Not what? Sometimes. Y'all see that? طيب. The next one, the next possible interpretation, is that the Prophet ﷺ, ihtajab. He got cupped and continued what? Continued fasting. And this is how Abu Hanifa, Malik, and Shafi'i, this is how they understood it. Right? So that would mean that this understanding does what? It contradicts the first hadith, right? And that would prevent us from being able to act in accordance with what? We have to choose one or the other, or we have to say that one of them is what? Abrogated, mansukh, right? One of them is what? Abrogated. We have to say that. If we take what? The second opinion. Last but not least from the interpretation is what? Ihtajama athna safara. That the Prophet ﷺ got cupped while he was what? Traveling. And the one who is traveling has the concession to do what? To break his fast. Y'all see that? And in that case, the two hadith would not be what? It wouldn't be contradictory, wouldn't have to say one is abrogated, wouldn't have to act by one and leave the other one. So what do we say here, Juan? We say that the most correct opinion is what? Is the first one. That the Prophet ﷺ, he did get cupped while fasting. And when he did so, he what? He broke his fast thereby. And this is supported by a few things. One is that whenever we have these apparent contradictions between the nusus, we look for what? We look for additional information to support one or other interpretations, right? And sure enough, in Al-Bukhari, we find another riwayah. We find another version of the hadith of Ibn Abbas, in which he said, when he talked about the Prophet getting cupped, he said, احتجم النبي من وجع كان به في رأسه. The Prophet ﷺ, he did get cupped. He got cupped. Because why? Because he had a migraine headache. And so to relieve what? The migraine, he got what? He got cupped. So that tells you that when the Prophet ﷺ got cupped while he was fasting, it was because what? He was ill. And the person who is ill is allowed to do what? To break their fast. Y'all see that? Also, if he was working, he was traveling. We can add to that. Fellowship.
What about the person that did the cupping?
Huh?
The person that did the cupping, his fast was broke too?
Well, based upon the hadith, yeah. Because the hadith says, احتجب الحاجم, I'm sorry, أفطر الحاجم والمحجوم. But what's possible, we don't know about the, Ibn Abbas did not mention the hajim. It's possible the hajim was somebody who wasn't fasting. Could have been one of his wives, for example. And they weren't fasting at the time. We don't know about that. But we just know that the Prophet, he got cupped. And we need to know, did he get cupped and break his fast, or did he continue on? Continue fasting. Fellowship. Like salam. Of course, yeah. Because if you break your fast while you're supposed to be fasting, even with a concession, you have to make that day up. Like now, so again, we say that the strongest belief is the first one. Al-hijama, it breaks your fast. The adillah support it. And there's an answer for the other hadith, the hadith of Ibn Abbas, who said that the Prophet did what? He got cupped while he was fasting. We have an answer for that. So basically, we say the first opinion is correct. Why? Lil-ati, for the following reasons. One, because of the second one, the second riwayah that explains he had a migraine. Number two is because we have a principle that says acting in accordance with two texts is always preferred over acting by what? By one and abandoning the other one. And when we take the first opinion, we can act by what? We can act by both. Ihtajama, yeah. He got cupped, but he did what? He broke his fast. So, number three, when you look at the hadith of Ibn Abbas, the first one, the Prophet ﷺ, he got cupped while fasting. The opinion that's based, or the opinion based upon that is based upon the explicit meaning or the implicit meaning. Is it based upon the explicit meaning or the implicit meaning? Explicit? Does it say that if you get cupped, your fast isn't broken? That would be explicit. It's implicit, right? The Prophet got cupped while fasting. We have to what? Interpret that. You see that? So that's what? Implicit. But when the Prophet said, أَفْطَرَ الْحَاجِبُ وَالْمَحْجُوبُ, the one who cupped and the one who got cupped, their fast is broken. That's what? Explicit. What we call mantuq wa mafhum. Explicit and understood. I'm going to ask you honestly, which one should you be given precedence? The explicit words of the Prophet, or something that we have to what? Interpret or try to understand, glean from the text. We always give precedence what? The explicit over what? Al-mafhum. But another reason is we have another principle that says when you have two texts that are contradictory or apparently contradictory, because the Quran and Sunnah, they don't actually contradict each other, but they're apparently contradictory. And one of them what? Tells you no, you can't do something. And one of them gives you permission. Which one do you give precedence over? Wa alaykum salam. You always give precedence over the one that says what? No, don't do it. Right? Because the Prophet said the hadith. He said, إِذَا أَمَرْتُكُمْ بِشَيْءٍ فَأْتُوا مِنْهُ مَا اسْتَطَعْتُمْ. But he said, if I command you to do something, I tell you to do something, then do what? As much as you can. So there's going to be something I'm going to tell you to do, you're not going to be able to do it. And that's okay. وَإِذَا نَهِيتُكُمْ, but if I tell you not to do something, فَاجْتَنِبُوهُ, then what? Then leave it alone. So the Prophet in this hadith is giving precedence to what? What he prohibits. When I tell you not to do something, don't do it at all. Y'all see that? So whenever you have two apparently contradictory texts and one of them says okay and one of them says no, you always give precedence to what? The one that says no, that's another reason why we say after al-hajj wal-mahjum. And last but not least, which one is safer? The one that says no. If some scholars say al-hijama doesn't break your fast, and other scholars say it does, not doing it is what? It's safer, because according to some scholars, it what? Your fast is broken. So another reason why we say the first opinion is best is because of what? Al-ihtiyat. It's what? It's safer, and we always want to do the safest thing, especially when it comes to what? Al-ibadah, worship. But with that said, so we mentioned 9 mufattirat, ya ikhwan, 9 mufsidat, 9 things that'll break your fast. Let's see if we can recap those, we can remember those real quick. Give me one. Doesn't matter what order you give it in. Give me one. Eating and drinking. Easy one. MashaAllah. I like that, brother. Hey. The Prophet, when he was given 2 choices between 2 things, he always took what? The easiest one. Like eating and drinking. Like intercourse. Mumtaz. What else you got?
Liquid or solid.
If you consume it through the mouth, liquid or solid, because what? It's analogous to eating and drinking. Ahsan. Mumtaz. That's 3.
Intention.
Intention. If you like, I'm not going to do this anymore. Or you say, I'm not sure, then what? Your fast is broken. So that's what? 4 and 5. We got 4 more. He already said intercourse. Intentionally vomit. Ahsan. 6. We got 3 more. Cupping, right? Getting cupped or cupping, Apostasy. Got 1 more. Ejaculation. Mumtaz. Because it's analogous to what? To sex. Good job, Ikhwan. All right, now let's do the last part, and we'll be closing out, and that's discouraged practices. So we said that the prohibited for the faster can be divided to what? The specific things prohibited to the faster can be divided to what? Mufsidat, things that what nullify his fast, and things which were discouraged practices. And those discouraged practices can be divided into what? 2 categories. You got reward diminishers. Things that if he does it, it'll do what? Diminishes reward. And other things which are purely what? Precautionary. Won't diminish your reward, but what? It's dangerous. You're playing with fire. So we suggest you what? You don't do it. You guys see that? So when we talk about discouraged practices, there are 2 categories. 1, it diminishes the reward, don't do it. I'm discouraging you. Still get reward, your fast will be still, it'll be acceptable, but it'll diminish your reward. Stay away from it. The other one, the scholars, they say, stay away from it, purely precautionary, right? Because what? You're playing with fire. But the first one, I'll mention 3. Number 1, from the reward diminishers, we talked about earlier, lying, bearing false witness, ignorant behavior, being foolish, etc. We mentioned the hadith. Number 2, mouthing obscenities, using foul language, speaking indecently, being argumentative. Verbal abuse, right? And we have a hadith in which the Prophet said, إِذَا كَانَ يَوْمُ صَوْمِ أَحَدِكُمْ فَلَا يَرْفُضْ وَلَا يَسْخَطْ. He said, if one of you is fasting, then let him not what? Speak obscenely or use foul language or get into an argument, etc. Last but not least, Ikhwan, from this, the reward diminishers, every behavior which contradicts the spirit of fasting. Every behavior which contradicts the spirit of fasting. And what is the spirit of fasting? It means it contradicts the pursuit of what? Piety. Anything that contradicts, anything that really, it undermines, it contradicts what you're supposed to be trying to do in the first place. Allah says, كُتِبَ عَلَيْكُمُ الصِّيَامُ لَعَلَّكُمْ تَتَّقُونَ. We prescribe fasting so you attain piety. Anything that's going to be an obstacle or impediment to that, that's something you need to what? You need to avoid, because it'll do what? It'll diminish your reward and impede your progress. Now let's go to the purely precautionary side, Yahweh. There are some things that the scholars of Islam have traditionally said, fasting person, I really tell you, I'm cautious, don't do it. Is it harm? Does it break your fast? No, but you what? You're playing with fire. Okay, and I'm going to mention 4 of those. The first one is a person, they gather what? They gather saliva in their mouth. Gather a bunch of saliva in their mouth and then they do what? They swallow it. The scholars of Islam traditionally, from the Madhahib al-Arba, Ahmad, Shafi'i, Malik, Abu Hanifa, they say what? This is what makruh. Does it break your fast? No, it doesn't break your fast. But it's so similar to what? Drinking, that we say you shouldn't do it. Y'all see that? And they agree upon this. All the madhab, they agree you shouldn't do this. It's discouraged. The second one is tasting what? Tasting food. Tasting food. Haram? No. Mufsid? Mubtil? Mufaqqid? Does it break your fast? No, but you what? You playing with fire, because if you taste it and you swallow it, then what? Then your fast is broken. You playing with fire, but you can do it. Why? Because we have the Athar, like Imam Bukhari, authority Ibn Abbas. He said, لا بأس للصائم أن يتذوق الطعام القدر. He said, it's no problem if the fasting person tastes what? Tastes food from the pot. Come home, close to iftar, your wife cooking up a storm, it smells good. You're like, man, let me. Oh! That's what I'm talking about. You know I like it spicy, baby. And he spits it out. Nothing wrong with that. But if he swallows it, problem. That's why they say what? Discourage, leave it alone. You're playing with fire, but you can what? You can do it, because it doesn't break your fast. We said putting something in your mouth, does that break your fast? No, even if it's food. Put it in your mouth, doesn't break your fast. But if you swallow it, now we got problems.
I thought that was only for the one that was cooking.
Huh?
I thought that was only for the person that's cooking.
Notice he said, though, Ibn Abbas, who understands the language better than us and the implication of the language better than us, he said, La ba'sa lis-sa'im. It's okay for what? The faster. And he made it what? Made it general. Anybody who's fasting. Anybody who's fasting can what? Can taste it. That's what Ibn Abbas said. I mean, if y'all okay with that. I mean, if y'all don't like him, if y'all not feeling what he had to say, then I'm cool. I'm on your team. All right, number 3. Chewing gum that does not decompose. Chewing gum that does not decompose. Now, this is not the gum that we get at the corner store yet. This is not, what is it? What is it? Double mint. It ain't that. That gum does what? It decomposes, and when you chew it, there's like sugars and chemicals and sweets that do what? That come off of the gum as you swallow, and that breaks your fast. But they have this gum, and anybody who's traveled overseas knows about it. It's like a traditional gum, right? And I'm not sure what they make it from. And it does have a taste, but it has a taste like if one of us was chewing on a rubber band, it would have a taste. Tell me, you chew on a rubber band. Go out here right now and take a piece off a tire and start chewing. It's got a taste. It's nasty, but it's got a taste. So it's not about taste. It's about what? It doesn't decompose, and it doesn't have added what? Added flavors, sugars, and all that. They got this in the Arab world, traditional Islamic countries, they have it. Person puts that in his mouth, and it helps him what? Helps him get through their fast. Like some people do what? They just chew on a miswak all day long. Don't use miswak no other time. But when it comes around done, right? I just gotta have something in my mouth, and it helps me what? Get through the day. So you got some people that have this thing called ilk. Ilk. It's like, it looks like, I don't know, man. It looks like, I don't know, man. I'm trying to think of an example of what it looks like, man. It's like, I don't know, it's like clear plastic. That's what it looks like. And it doesn't break down. It's like chewing a rubber band or something. And if you chew on that, and it doesn't decompose, it doesn't break down, then what? Chewing on this what? It's permissible, and it doesn't break your fast. All the scholars of the Madhahib al-Arba, all the scholars, they agree this is okay. But they say what? Still don't do it. You play with fire. Why? Because what if a piece breaks off and you swallow it? You broke your fast. You can do it, but you're playing with fire. We recommend that you don't. Last but not least, Juan, you gotta love this one, is kissing which arouses desire. Underline the word which arouses desire. Passionate kissing, right? And it's important to have that disclaimer. Why? Because kissing itself is not a mufaddal. Kissing itself is not something makruh, it's something jaiz. Bi ijma' ulama. The scholars agree. Why? Because Aisha, she narrated in Al-Bukhari, she narrated, كان النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم يقبل وهو صائم ويباشر وهو صائم. The Prophet used to kiss while he was fasting. And he used to what? Touch. He would hold hands. He might give a hug, right? While he was fasting. لكنه كان أملككم بيربي. But the Prophet was most able to what? To control himself. So this last sentence from Aisha is almost like she's saying, this is not for everybody. This is for the people who what? They're able to control themselves. And if you're not able to control yourselves, it ain't haram, but you're playing with fire. And as a result of that, the scholars are of the opinion that kissing is all right. It's fine in general. But if a kiss is something that could potentially arouse passion, then what? Don't do it. Because if a kiss arouses passion and you ejaculate, we go back to what? What we said earlier, if you ejaculate as a result of an action you did, your fast is broken. So because that could potentially happen, I said you're playing with fire, don't do it. Y'all see what I'm saying? So these are the 4 things that we mentioned under the purely precautionary, and that actually brings us to a close of the lecture. Any questions here for me?
About that last point that you spoke about kissing passion. You know, you kiss your spouse and everything. Saliva's getting exchanged. So you having to exchange that saliva that you swallow. Swallowing your spouse's saliva or something, that break the fast.
No, and the reason why we say it wouldn't is because this is something which, because kissing is allowed, if there was any circumstance where kissing could be a mufaktir, the Prophet would have to do what? He'd have to explain that to us. Because this is something which affects everyone. Every person who has a spouse is what? Is affected by this. The whole ummah is affected by this. So if there's something about kissing, certain circumstance, if kissing occurs and saliva gets exchanged and breaks your fast, the Prophet has to clarify it. Since he didn't clarify it, it lets us know that that's not the case. The fact that the Prophet didn't speak on it tells you that what? There's nothing to be said. There's nothing to be said. On fellowship.
The following in the kissing, can you specify it may be haram for taking the rape by being younger and older?
There's actually some narrations. But Ibn al-Qayyim, he said none of those narrations are authentic. But it is authentic from some of the companions, like Abu Hurairah and Ibn Umar, that they didn't allow, or they didn't encourage, they discouraged younger people from doing it, which shows that they weren't concerned about kissing in general. They were concerned about kissing for either people who lacked self-control, or kissing which could lead to what? To inzal, to ejaculation. So there is some indication from the companions, their understanding and their fatwa, that yeah, they didn't encourage young people, but it's not haram because the Prophet did, and he's the best example. So it's discouraged, but not prohibited. Anything else? Anything else? Any questions, comments, critiques? For the sisters, do the sisters have anything? Any questions for the sisters? Questions going once? Okay. Fellowship.
So for example, how you say the one who was fasting tasting food. So you carry food. You gotta taste a couple of things, but you can still have a taste in your mouth. You shoot it out. You get to remove that taste so you don't swallow anything. You can't brush your teeth.
You can.
You can't brush your teeth.
Yeah, what do you guys think? Can you brush your teeth while fasting?
Yes.
Not a curve.
Okay.
With toothpaste or without toothpaste?
With toothpaste. Who says yes? Who says no? You can brush, you can't brush. Brush with toothpaste. Crest, Colgate. What's the one for sensitive teeth? Sensodyne. You can brush your teeth. Why? Why? What did we say? What was the guide? What was the principle we gave? You can put the first one is what? Nothing is a mufattir until what? Proof is given. And also putting things in your mouth is not what? Is not iftar. Just something going in your mouth, not iftar. Like, so yeah, you can brush. You can brush, no harm in that. And even, I want to ask you guys another question. Now he said you taste the food, you spit it out, you rinse your mouth, but you still have what? You have a little taste. And saliva's collecting, and as the saliva collects, it goes down your throat and you feel like, man, I think I swallowed some of that taste. I swallowed some of that taste. Does that break your fast?
No.
Does taste break your fast? Not the taste, the what? The solid or the liquid. Yeah, so once I spit the food out, there might be some what? Some taste, but swallowing taste, like swallowing air. So you do it, and I'm not teasing you, okay? I don't want you to think I'm teasing, I'm not. Well, I promise I'm not. So, let me give you another example. So let's say, for example, a person has asthma, and they have one of those pumps. So during the day they get a little attack, and they what? Couple puffs. They swallowing that. That's going to the system. Will that break the fast? Break the fast? No. No. Let's break the fast.
What's the difference between swallowing the taste of food and swallowing the taste of gum?
I didn't say no. When you say taste, what taste of gum?
Like double.
You talking about like double mint?
Yeah.
Okay, when you swallow double mint, is it just the taste you're swallowing? No, there's sugars and chemicals and everything, and that's mixing with your saliva. There's actually what? There's an actual jurba. There's an actual like, not just flavor. There's something physical. You might not be able to see it. It might be microscopic, but it's what? It's there. So that's the difference between that gum and the gum of the what we call the indica or whatever. I'll tell you.
So go back to the asthma pump.
Yeah.
No, explain that about the asthma pump a little bit.
Okay, the asthma pump. Is it a solid or liquid? No. It's not. It's not a solid or liquid. Okay? We said solid or what? Liquid. Okay? Also the asthma pump, it's what? It's a medicine, but it's not what? It's not a liquid. And I don't really think, to be honest with you, I don't think it goes to what? It doesn't go into the jof anyway. It goes to what? To the lungs, yeah? Mm-hmm. But yeah, that wouldn't count as akal or shurb. It wouldn't count as eating or drinking. Yeah.
Go back to brushing your teeth.
Yes.
I would encourage it.
Okay, why?
Maybe years ago, that while you're brushing your teeth, you might swallow.
Mumtaz. Okay, so our brother said, and that's, I think, is connected to what you said. Or another way of looking at what you said. So the brother said, a person is brushing their teeth, so I wouldn't advise you playing with fire, because when you brush your teeth, even if you, like, you spitting out the toothpaste and everything, some of it might go down your throat inadvertently. The brother said you're tasting food. You might swallow some of it inadvertently. Like, what do y'all think? Let's say it happened. I'm brushing my teeth early in the morning, after Fajr, and I swallow some of the toothpaste accidentally. I come home, wife's cooking up a storm, I taste some what's in the pot, I go to spit it out, some of it what? Gets spit out, some of it actually I swallow it by accident. My fast broken or not?
No.
Is it broken or not?
No.
Lieshla, why not?
Because you go out there and touch your.
Because you didn't do what? Intentionally. You do it accidentally, just like we talked about. And that's the one side. The one who forgot. Same as the one who forgot is the one who what? Did it by accident. It wasn't intentional. It was by accident. Right? Tayyib. Huh? Anything else? Okay, still ask a question back there? Okay. La ilaha illallah.
Where you from, Jake?
Originally from Detroit.
Now,
Huh?
now, Philly?
Virginia. No. Philly, I wish, man. Would you guys have any, man?
Yeah.
They don't have anything. IG, no question, sister.
Where does the name Al-Ansari come from?
Al-Ansari comes from the Ansar of Medina.
Okay.
Yeah.
The hadith about the bankrupt person, when the prophet asked the companions who was bankrupt, and he explained, person fast, pray, but hit this person, backbit this person, and his deeds are taken from him. And if he run out of good deeds, he has to take that person's bad deeds.
May Allah protect us.
Yeah, but the fasting, the deeds from fasting, are they taken too? Can they be taken too, or are these deeds?
Yeah, all of them are, because the Prophet said in the one version, he said that the person runs out of good deeds, that all of his good deeds are exhausted. That would definitely include his fasting. All of his good deeds are exhausted, so he has to take what? The person's sins, yeah. So I don't know, I don't know personally of any exemption from the deed, from fasting. I don't know if it's being exempt from that. Because the Prophet, he indicated that all of his good deeds get expired, they get used up, and then he has to basically repay the person by taking some of his what? With his sins. May Allah protect us. I mean that. May Allah protect us. Because that's people take that lightly, man. I'm telling you. Yeah, how fellowship.
Earlier I heard you saying that you can't fast for anybody, right? But we are supposed to fast for the one passing away.
Well, what I meant, you can't fast for anyone, I mean you can't fast and devote it to anyone else. Like, I can't, you know how, for example, a person could pray for somebody else? And what I mean by pray for somebody, you pray to show off, you pray to impress, right? Somebody else. So a person could come in here and he could see the brothers and he could be like, Allah Akbar. And he could like beautify his prayer because why? He wants to impress the brothers. He wants to be pious. But it's kind of hard to fast with that intention because unless you go around broadcasting that you're fasting, nobody's going to know except you and Allah. So that's what I meant by that.
Okay, but and then also to spin off of that, person does die, somebody makes up their fast. How are we supposed to know how much that we're supposed to make up for that person?
And there's a difference of opinion. That's a really good question. There's a difference of opinion amongst the scholars about the person who, when they die, making up the fast. And there is a hadith narrated by Aisha radiallahu anha, authentic hadith, where she said, "Man mata wa alayhi siyam, sama anhu waliyyu." That if somebody dies with days that they were supposed to fast, then their wali, their closest relative, will fast on their behalf. Or can fast, or should fast on their behalf. Tayyib. The scholars of Islam, some of them say that that means the fast of Ramadan and the fast of another. And with that interpretation of another like an oath. An oath you made. That person made an oath. I make an oath to Allah that I'll fast 10 days if my son gets cured of leukemia. Method. He makes an oath. And you know about the oath. And other scholars, they said that hadith of Aisha only refers to Sawm and Nadar. It only refers to what? The fasting of oath, not the fasting of what? Of Ramadan. And Allah knows best, that's the most authentic opinion. Because that's the interpretation given to the actual hadith by Aisha, the narrator of the hadith, and other companions. And we don't know of any companion who differed from them. So based upon that, it's not the fast of Ramadan where you have to know how many days did the person miss, but it's actually the fast of one another, which you're more likely to know because the only way you'd know about the oath if you knew the oath and how many days they promised to fast. You see what I'm saying? So if you know about the oath and you know about the days, then you fast that number of days. Yeah. And Allah knows best. Like, any other questions, Ikhwan? Okay.
With the couple, you mentioned Abu Hanifa, Imam Shafi'i, Imam Malik.
Hey, now.
They took the position that cupping didn't break the fast.
Right.
So Imam Hanbal took the position that it did break
Right.
the fast. So the question is, if a person followed that method,
Method of Ahmed or a method of
the method of Shafi'i,
Malik and
Abu
Abu Hanifa? Eh?
when you're using some of the safest position in an argument, would they be in error for following the position of Shafi'i, Malik, or Abu Hanifa?
Well, it depends on what you mean by error.
No. You mentioned the safest position.
Yeah.
In an argument.
Yeah, because if you don't do it, that's safer than doing it.
Right.
Because this Abu Hanifa, Malik, and Shafi'i, they don't say you're doing something wrong by not making hijab. But if you take the opinion of Ahmed and Ishaq bin Rahawayh, the scholars who agree with them, and you do a hijab, then you're doing something wrong according to that opinion. So the safer of the two opinions, that's what we mean by the safer, because if you follow the opinion of Ahmed, you're not violating or doing anything wrong according to the other madhab. But if you follow the opinion of Abu Hanifa, Malik, and Shafi'i, according to Ahmed, Ishaq, and other scholars who agree with them, you're doing something wrong. That's what we mean by it's safer. But as far as error, when it comes to these types of difference of opinion which are based upon evidence, it's proof texts and how they're interpreted, the word khata, a person to be mistaken, we use that term very carefully because we believe al-haq wahid, we believe the truth is one. Okay, it's not, if this person says right, this person says wrong, they can't both be right. One of them is right, one is wrong. If the opinions are mutually contradictory, they can't be reconciled. No harmony can be made between them. One of them is right, one of them is wrong. So we believe the other person is mistaken. But we have to be careful because the difference between we feel you're mistaken, but your opinion is valid, and you're not what? You're not misguided. You're not astray. What happens, unfortunately, especially these fiqhiyat, as we call them, is that people will basically disagree with the person in a matter in which difference of opinion is permitted, and they'll consider the person, when we say in error, like astray. And that's unprecedented. The early Muslims were not like that. And I'll give you a perfect example, just to illustrate both things. That they consider the other person wrong, but their opinion is valid, and they're not astray. The famous statement of Shafi'i, rahimahullah, which he used to say, قَوْلُ, he used to say, قَوْلِي صَوَابٌ يَحْتَمِلُ الْخَطَأ وَقَوْلُ خَصْمِي خَطَأٌ يَحْتَمِلُ الصَّوَابِ. Shafi'i said, my opinion is right, but it could be wrong. And the opinion of my opponent is wrong. Notice he used the word khata. Meaning what? Truth is wahid. So if I think what I'm saying is right and you say something in opposition to it, contradictory to it, you're wrong. يَحْتَمِلُ الصَّوَابِ. But it could be what? Right. He's not misguided. You follow what I'm saying? So we believe that al-hijama, it breaks the fast. And we gave all of the evidence for it. We gave like 7 of them. So we think the people who say hijama is okay. We say what? We respectfully disagree with them. We think that they're mistaken. But they're not what? They're not astray. We say like Shafi'i said, قَوْلُنَا صَوَابٌ يَحْتَمِلُ الْخَطَأ وَقَوْلُهُ خَطَأٌ يَحْتَمِلُ الصَّوَابِ. Yeah? بارك الله فيك يا شيخ. طيب. Should we stop? No questions from the sisters? Going once? Going twice? Gone. وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك.